Good morning. Thank you for your warm welcome. Feel at home. You may not want to go back. It's very nice. You have a beautiful church and a wonderful congregation, and we're very happy to be here today and share how we have been able to serve God in another country, but also to remind you that you too can serve Him just as we do in your own backyard. So first I will open up with Going Beyond the Cross, which is the name of our ministry. And what does it really mean? How can we declare our faith, not only to our Father, but to the world around us, further than by coming to the cross and accepting the Lord as our Savior? I believe personally that you can't stop there. You have to go further than going to the cross. You have to move beyond the cross and live in its shadow, where you serve the Lord every day. Every day of your life, you live in that shadow, in the memory of what you've been taught. That this is not just on Sunday that you come and serve God. I believe that our faith has to become our life. That is what brought me to name our ministry Go Beyond the Cross. Coming to the cross is also declaring our faith, but it's a first step in what can be a very long journey. Some of us take that first step not really knowing where the next step will be, how we're going to take it, where the money is going to come from to take it, and sometimes where the willpower will come from to take it. So how do we keep taking step after step and find ourselves traveling down this path that leads us far beyond worship and prayer, far beyond Sunday morning in church, but in everyday worship and prayer? A path that truly embodies our faith and enables us to travel beyond that cross and share God's love with the world around us. Where are we to find the strength and the wisdom? What gift was given to us by our Father? Those are questions that we ask ourselves. But as Paul told us earlier in 1 Corinthians 1:25, the foolishness of God is wiser than the human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. And what I think he's trying to say there is that when we don't know where we're going to get the strength, when we don't know what to say next, or what to do next, we have to rely on Him to talk into our heart and translate what He tells us to the world around us. Where does our calling come from? Does it come from prayer, from devotions, from worship? Well, Matthew chapter 19, verse 16 through 22 shows us the path. And I'll let my wife Melody just read this passage.
Just then, a man came up to Jesus and asked, "Teacher, what good thing must I do to get eternal life?" "Why do you ask me about what is good?" Jesus replied. "There's only one who is good. If you want to enter life, keep the commandments." "Which ones?" he inquired. Jesus replied, "You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony. Honor your father and mother, and love your neighbor as yourself. All these I have kept." The young man said, "What do I still lack?" Jesus answered, "If you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." When the young man heard this, he went away sad, because he had great wealth.
Following Christ requires a commitment, a total commitment. And I don't believe that it's about selling your possessions and giving it all away to the poor. That may be a choice that you make. It's a choice that I made. But I don't think that's what he's trying to tell us. I think he's trying to tell us that we have to be totally committed. Body and soul, everything we do, everything we are, have to be a commitment. It has to show our commitment to walking that path, to walking in His light, regardless of what anybody has to say. People will often think you unwise, foolish. My children think me foolish for giving up everything here and living with dirt floors and cold water. So we have to be able to live with that and say, no, I'm not foolish. I know what I'm doing because he told me to do it. And I think he's wiser than you are. A couple of years ago, I heard my calling. It wasn't the first time that God knocked on my door, but that time I actually decided to answer. And when I heard inside of me, my soul, when I felt God wanted me to do it, I was unsure. I asked him how, where. Why me? I wasn't a picture-perfect Christian when I grew up. We could spend 3 weeks talking about it. No, we won't go there, trust me. There's children here, it's just not. Somehow I kind of understood how Noah felt when God told him, listen, you got to build this big boat in the middle of nowhere, miles from the water, and you got to tell everybody about the flood. Why did Noah say that? How did he react? How did he get to the point from saying, what's the cubit? To, okay, I'm going to do it. And everybody's going to laugh at me. But I'm going to do it anyway. So that's how I felt. What do I have to give the rest of the world? What do I have to give our Father to make a difference? To teach His Word, to share His Word, but most of all to share His love. So I agreed. So I told God, because we talk a lot together, talk in the car, in the bathroom, in the living room, we're always talking. So I told him, I said, oh, okay, now you got to show me how, because I really don't have a clue. So before showing me how, he had to show me where. And I would find out later what how meant and what it was. And what I found is that how is really up to me. How strong is my faith? How strong is my love for God? That determines how I follow Him. So ultimately, after a short stay with Melody in Ecuador, we went to Ecuador for a short period of time, and I think that was a trial of our willingness to do what we're doing. Ultimately, God sent me to Rwanda. Rwanda is a very small country in Central East Africa. It's one of the poorest countries in the world, and that's where He sent me. So in January of this year, I landed in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, where I started teaching school for about 2 weeks or so, and really felt that this wasn't it. Somehow, there was more to my calling than teaching English in schools. So about 2 weeks into it, God guided my steps to a field clinic in the western part of Rwanda on the Congo border, where I remained for 3 months. For 3 months I learned. I learned about the values of life, the sanctity of life, as I worked in the clinic as a physician. I was told to do everything there, from curing a cold, which actually is incurable, to amputations, to delivering babies. And that was kind of my reward. In 3 months I delivered 35 babies, sometimes 2 at a time, from 2 different women. Hold, push, hold, push, push. There are conditions that I don't believe you ladies would want to be there and show them. There's some people here who have gone to Africa and they know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's what I did for 3 months, and then I came back to the United States. I enjoyed bringing life into the world in the name of God. I worked with the local villagers where I was living, and it was somewhat uneventful. A few things happened, but nothing to really write a book about, so I won't even about it. But after a short stay here, I went back to Rwanda, and God had different plans for me this time. It wasn't about the easy life in the clinic. When I say easy, I use the term loosely, but easy life in the clinic, it was going to be a different ballgame altogether. He had new plans. While I was in Rwanda the first time, I did a lot of HIV/AIDS screening and education. And I think this time, God wanted me to take it to the next level a step much further. So somehow we ended up talking with the school district in the area I'm at, and we agreed that we were going to counsel, educate, and screen about 1,700 children. So that was our first step. We did that over about 4 or 5 days. I think we screened most kids. After that, God decided that he was going to publicize what we did, so we got calls from the health department, different NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and also some local communities, asking us if we would be willing to come and educate and screen people. So we agreed, and thus we started. In the last 3 months, we've educated about 12,000 people, and we screened about 4,000. The results of our screening is that the average level of HIV in our region is 6%. To give you a point of reference, in the United States, it's 0.5%. And here it's really kept into certain categories and lifestyles, such as IV drug users. Whereas over there, it's transmitted sexually amongst everybody. So this AIDS level brings us to the second lesson that I had to learn, and a new heavenly gift that I received. While visiting the hospital in the town of Missionaries, which is, mind you, not a very big town, we only have one paved road that comes around the town. There's only 2 in the whole country. But the hospital had asked me to work there. And I had not totally agreed. I didn't know that's what God wanted me to do. I thought I was going to go back to a cushy job. But I went to the hospital and visited. And while I was there, a nurse came up to me and drew my attention. Now first I have to paint a picture for you here. In the hospital in Rwanda, they do not feed you. You have to feed yourself, or somebody has to feed you from the outside. They do not give you medication. You have to go buy your medication somewhere else. They will administer the medication to you, but you have to go buy it. Now, if you have no insurance and no money, they will not take care of you. There's no emergency care, well, they'll take care of you regardless of your situation. You'll lay in a corner and you'll die. Literally. Okay? So this nurse comes up to me and says, listen, I have this gentleman here that has no family, no money. He's in the last stages of AIDS. There's nothing we can do for him. Maybe you can. Maybe you can do something. So I said, okay, I'll go visit him. His name was Modeste. We found him in a room apart from everybody else, lying naked, his own body with fluids, staring at the ceiling. He suffered from cryptic meningitis, meaning his brain was swollen. He had TB, tuberculosis, and of course the AIDS, and he was totally responsible. So then we entered into a new world. Sat with him, I prayed with him, I cleaned him with a catheter in him, and proceeded to attend to medically. We bought medication, we took care of him for the next 2 weeks. And during that 2-week period, the nurses introduced me to yet another person in the same situation, and another person, and another person. So within a couple of weeks' time, we had been unofficially named caregivers to the dying in the hospital. I didn't know how to do it. All I knew was to pray. How do you pray for a 3-year-old child who's dying of AIDS? How do you deal with it? What do you say? How do you go home afterwards? Those things, excuse me, those things I didn't know. I learned